Good Saturday morning, all. I'm going to have to hold the mic now for the sound's sake, but because of that, I'm going to do things a little bit differently going forward till I can find some cool wireless one. And I am looking. Super Saturday today, zeroing in on the Big 12. Everybody's got 5 games to go. So I'm going to go over the 6 teams that are within striking distance of the regular season Big 12 championship. All are assumed to have had their ticket punched for the national basketball tournament, but we all know what they say about assuming, right? So, since I'm holding the microphone and it looks super weird, I'm going to step out and zoom in on the board because it looks like hieroglyphics now. So just think about the song while I jump the table up or whatever. Sure, there's got to be a better way for this, but there is. You can tell me later. Or like I said, put it in the comment section below. We don't want to talk bad about the most TV I've watched since it came out, but a lot of us have things that, we worry about that are as meaningless as a YouTube chat section. I was thinking about starting at the top, but they're all going to work their way in, so I'm just going to kind of go through it. You saw the T-shirt and hat, and it was not incidental. Of course, I'm an obstinate Oklahoma fan. And since for the most part, the other teams have had their shot at some kind of postseason glory, I'm going to start with them. It's not fair. They're 5th, whatever. But, again, extremely biased here. So, right now, they are, 10, 9, 8. They're 8-5 in the conference. And they're tied with Iowa State with that 8-5 mark. Of course, Iowa State has already beaten them in Ames earlier in the year. They're only 2 games back of Kansas State and Oklahoma State. The only team besides, for the moment, Iowa State, will let that settle itself out with our game in Norman here in about a week or so. The only team above them with any kind of stranglehold on them is Kansas State, ironically, as they've beaten OU both times they played, both in the Little Apple and in Norman. So they've split with the rest. They're 0-1 against Iowa State, so that's to be continued. So that's twofold right now. The biggest fold of that is that OU's toughest part of their schedule is in their rearview mirror. Right? If they've already split with Kansas, they split with Oklahoma State, they played Iowa State once, and they've lost both times to Kansas State. And let's bring in Baylor, who they played today, but we'll get to that later, whom they've already beat in Waco, right? So as bad as it is losing to Kansas State in Norman, they beat Baylor, a team that was supposed to be up here. team that was supposed to be up here and has seriously underachieved this year with a true 7-footer, which me and Mr. Trumbull was talking about today. Shout out to Mike. Don't see him as much as I used to, but Baylor features. We talked about this last week. A true 7-foot 1-inch basketball player are hard to come by as they are swooped up by the NBA for immediate need. And now, you know, if there's a shortage, there's nothing to stop them from, crossing the Atlantic to find somebody of some size. So OU's beating Baylor, got them today at home. This is a break serve game where we've got our serve broken by Kansas State. We've held serve. Kansas State and Oklahoma State to be continued here. And Baylor is the one team that we've got a stranglehold on. I'm going to stop using that word. We've got position on by I've already beat them once, let alone in their house. Kansas has a 7-footer and awesome basketball player in Jeff Withey, who took our tallest and best overall player, Romero Osby, out to the woodshed when they played at Kansas Stadium in the fog, I like to say. But the tables turned when they played in Norman. Of course, Oklahoma beat them, but Romero Osby had a much better game and was heard from. That's how it stands now with the Sooners. And one of the best positions they've been in conference-wise and any extra tournament-wise, got even the NIT for crying out loud since the end of Blake Griffin's era. Okay. Baylor, again, is seriously underachieved. We can run through them real quick because they're, at this point, on the outside looking in. And if you look at the schedule, we got OU, West Virginia, K-State, Texas, and Kansas. Okay. You can imagine Kansas State, which they play at home, and Kansas, which they also play at home. Both of those games are in Waco, are super huge. Baylor's path to the brackets will have to have them winning 1 or 2 of those road games, today in Norman, in Morgantown, or in Austin. One of those are going to have to, or at least one are going to have to be won, plus the wins at home, albeit against the top 2 teams in the conference right now. So they have the toughest road to hoe and smallest window for error of the 6 teams. They're saying, I'm hearing first 4 in, last 4 in, first 4 out. I'm thinking right now Baylor could be out. But at 7-6 in the Big 12, if they was to hand in their record anonymously to the selection committee, they would probably let that team in, just knowing that it was a Big 12 team that at the moment is 7-6, and whatever could sneak in, maybe that 12 seed where they cut off at. Okay, covered Iowa State. They've got Texas Tech at home, which should be a win. They had Kansas at home, which is probably a decent thing for them. Warm up against Texas Tech and be ready to shoot the lights out in Ames when Kansas comes calling. Now, of course, you all know about the trap situation, and that very well could be. But this information here in the asterisk by Iowa State's name is because they are in the top 20 in the country in points. The P is just off screen there. Points, rebounds, and assists per game nationally. Of course, it couldn't be in the conference because there's only 12 damn teams. So points, rebounds, and assists per game, they're in the top 20. And that's got them at 8-5, yada yada. Oh, regular season record. Right now, we'll just deal with the conference record. That's really all that matters. Everyone, if you're at this point in this position, at this point in the season, your preseason or non-conference record is good enough to get you in. You went 8-2, 10-2, something like that. And it's negligible. Right now, the numbers are. These guys are 10-3. These guys are 8-5. 10-3. Oklahoma State's 9-4. Iowa State and OU's 8-5. Baylor 7-6. So 10, 9, 8, 7. Oklahoma State, much like OU, not for the extra game on them, has their easiest games ahead of them, or some of them. We all know about Texas, but Texas is kind of a volatile team. They really don't like each other no matter where they play. And Texas could come in there and wreck shop, but then again they can go in there and lay an egg. Again, Texas is much like Baylor. The two teams you can take out here, Baylor's barely holding on, but definitely OU would be the first one of these 5 teams out had Texas held serve and been in this top part of the conference here. Baylor and knock out maybe Iowa State here or bring them to where they are, but those two teams seriously underachieving and led the way for a couple teams to sneak in there. Now, Travis Ford, bang up job with the Cowboys, and again this year, 2013, I'm going to start acknowledging the opponent. I've been so worked up over my teams for years. All of my teams in any sport, in any level, been fans of for at least 25 years. I'm 34. So I'm going to start acknowledging the opponent. It even started last night with the choice in work clothes being yellow and green, being the colors of the Baylor Bears. Oklahoma State cursed their name for years just because. But Travis Ford's doing a hell of a job out there in Stillwater, coaching the talent. You can look. You don't want to go with Mac Brown in Texas, though. His team was hyped, if for nothing else, because they got a network. But definitely Calipari in Kentucky as to not being able to coach talent. Got the team. Should have been a 1 seed. And that alone, teams like Kentucky, Miami showing up now, number 2 in the country. Who had Miami anywhere near there? That's forced another team out. And Duke is one of them, So, though Duke's record's good enough for them to, stay 3 or 4 seeders, there's a lot of other teams that have thrown themselves in the mix and has diluted the pool. It's not Kansas, Duke, UCLA anymore. There's a number of teams that are not only vying for tournament position, but higher seedings in the tournament. So they'll have an easier path to a national championship. And let's not forget the mid-major teams. We're, focusing on the Big 12. St. Louis, look out for them. They're the one team, albeit conference took Gonzaga where they didn't want to go. So, and there's 100 of them out there. Literally this year, almost 100 of them out there. And OU could win a tournament game. That's where I got them right now. Of course, I'll have the bracket on the board come March. We'll do it quadrant by quadrant, and we won't do the whole thing on there. Maybe we might. And got some new colors too today at work. You can see those. That green on the right and the blue on the left. That should represent Carolina and Seattle. With the regular ones, won't be able to see it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Kansas State goes to Austin today. I got Texas Tech at Baylor, TCU, and at Oklahoma State. Ugh, and easily, if nothing else, go 4-1, right? And we're like 4-0-1, not necessarily losing to Oklahoma State, but we don't know that outcome. We can kind of call this. We can kind of call that 4-0 without too much interruption. So we'll go like 4-0-1 with them. Kansas has TCU. They're at Iowa State. Home for West Virginia and Texas Tech before they go to Waco to finish the season. It's kind of the same thing. And my thing here is those guys. Iowa State. Now, of course, this is a Kansas team that we've seen lose 3 straight because of the things I talked about earlier. It's different times now, and people are tired of getting stepped on. So maybe down there in Waco at Baylor, they can get a loss. Definitely, maybe, at Iowa State, definitely, and maybe. Other ones they can hold serve. So we'll give them 4 out of these 5 as well. Even though I'm thinking both those are a bit too lenient, be a bit too generous for both of those two. They may be more of a 3-2 thing. Anything worse, and we've got parity here. Because we've got a game on Oklahoma State, 2 on Iowa State and Oklahoma, and 3 on Baylor. Now, Oklahoma State, I'm going to go out to Morgantown for the first time. Now, that was a game I watched just because I wanted to see how that'd be like. I saw them play football. That was back when Jeff Hostetler beat OU, but that was some time ago. And now that they're in the conference and we have to go out to Morgantown, thankfully, it was early before any major weather events out there. It's for them to do. This is Oklahoma State's trap game, going to a place you've never been to before, and the right condition. Well, first of all, they've got Bob Huggins, right? So, they've got a coach. I got a Kalitsits in the middle, number 13. We got a big guy to bang with Jerkic in the Scrabble Bowl of last names. So that's kind of a draw. I would give West Virginia the advantage because they're at home, but OU went there and handled business. In Oklahoma's true style, barely get up by 10 or 11, give it all back, +6, -6 more, whatever, and then come out with the win. I think it was a bit easier for the Sooners there, though. It wasn't like that, but that's usually OU's path to victory. At Morgantown, West Virginia, and you can do that pretty much with any of them. For anybody that's got to go to Morgantown, looks like Baylor does. Iowa State does too to close out their season. So, super warning on these 3 games here, right? Just because they don't know what that's like. OU's beating West Virginia, and not only that, they're coming to Norman. So, that should be that. Iowa State, Texas Tech, Kansas. We got a problem here. Got to go to OU, who's already mad because they've got a bloody lip, right? Because they've already beaten OU, Oklahoma State, and then that West Virginia game. Iowa State's with Baylor in a tough sledding, real tough sledding. Albeit, the end of the tournament season, or end of the conference season, and these 6 teams are jockeying for 2 positions, because we've got to finish the regular season, we've got the conference tournament, and then we've got the national tournament. And they all smell blood in the water, right? These guys all got it. So they've got to hold off the last 4 teams, and they're not concerned with it. That's Baylor's job. Baylor's got to hold off anybody below 6th, and then they've got to handle business. OU got Baylor today at home. I can't call it. They go to Texas, go to Norman, come home for Ames, and then West Virginia finish it off down in Fort Smith with TCU. Now, TCU gave OU all they wanted for about first half and first half of the second half as well, before OU finally showed up and got the win. But I don't know if it's because I'm a fan or because I've seen them play. I can't call either or any of those games. I can't call any of them. Right? Baylor's got a 7-footer, and if he gets 20 and 10, Baylor sneaks out of here with one and puts the onus on OU then and there. Who's, not necessarily playing with house money here. They're still on the come out roll. They're still trying to shoot 7s to get in. Crapping out against Baylor is not good, especially this Baylor. I see if it was the last year ranked Baylor, all right, Baylor, but this Baylor is underachieved, so that's going to frown on you. Lose at Texas, damn right they could. Lose to Iowa State at home, yeah. 2, because I don't know, which team will show up, and 2, because they've already beaten them. West Virginia, hey, we'll give them that one, if any. And then that TCU, who's got a little recipe for victory against them, too. So, I don't know. Theirs may be tough as well. The toughest of the 6. Baylor, OU, at West Virginia. That's toughest right now, adding that. Tied with Oklahoma State. They've never been to these 2 schools, and they're going to them back-to-back. This one, because this game is super important right now at 4 o'clock, and we're 2 seconds to 9 right now, Central Time Zone. So then that West Virginia thing, come home for Kansas State, go to Texas, and come home for Kansas. That might, that's the toughest than Iowa State than OU. Or maybe OU than Iowa State. They're tied. Right now, that one game that Iowa State beat OU is about what they have on OU. If I go to bed now, about 5.5 hours of sleep. I think I'm going to do that.